All right, we are here and already facing the ridicule. I get it. I get it. We're here a little late, but better late than never. Steven letting us know, and I appreciate that. Hold us to the fire. We're going to have a full show this evening. We got an early panel right now. It's going to just keep growing, and it's going to be a ton of fun. We got normal guests as always, though. We got Drew, we got Jay, we got Jance. Guys, go ahead around the table just in the order the cameras are in and introduce yourselves. Let the people know what you got going, where they can find your great content, the whole thing.
Hey, I am formerly a podcaster. I'll get back to it, but with the coaching life now is what it is. I am just football coaching for right now, but I'm Coach Drew England. You'll see me on here from time to time, but always love jumping on and talking some college football with these guys. So yeah, here I am.
Always a good time, man. Jay, how you doing?
Y'all know me, just holding on like a hubcap in the fast lane. Jay Smith, Unfair Sports. Just find me on YouTube as well as whatever podcast I download and listen to. Ty, I'm excited to get on again.
Excited to have you here. Surfer already in here saying, how about them dogs? I cannot wait for the collision course that is being set up between your dogs and Jance's and I's Crimson Tide. And speaking of Jance, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right, man. Just for the most part, just got the bubble guts about the playoff committee, seeing what they're gonna do on Tuesday. But no, yeah, you guys find me Jant Sports YouTube, Jant716 Twitter, and I guess Bama Insider on Mondays, Wednesdays, and mostly post game shows over there. Shout out Coach Smoot, shout out Coach Sean. I know these guys are watching, and yeah, I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah, be sure to check that out right after this one ends. Go over there, support them. They do a great job. And listen, I think there's no better place for us to start. We like to have fun over here. Winners and losers. And oh boy, there are several winners, and there is a very clear loser. And I cannot wait to throw tomatoes upon the loser. But I'm going to let the loser segment go to our very special guest, Jance. If you wouldn't mind, I think you already know where you should go with this. Winners and losers from this weekend. I'm going to have you start. Give me a winner from this weekend from you, and then give me a loser.
I would say a big winner was probably Oregon, only because for the most part, Oregon is just they're kind of in a way, making sure that the committee puts them stays there at number 6, because Texas and Alabama are right on their heels. These are two teams that are most like. I mean, Alabama has an opportunity to get a big win against Georgia, and that's if they beat Auburn, and if Oregon for the most part, if they can survive, beat Oregon State, and then beat Washington. Obviously, their resume is going to go up. Texas has a big opportunity to go ahead and win a Big 12 championship if Oklahoma State wins their game next week, because I think they'll crush them. But no, Oregon, for the most part, guys, they're just continuing to dominate. They're continuing to do things. Bo Nix is trying to get his name in the Heisman conversation, trying to keep Jaden Daniels off his tail. And I mean, the committee just loves them. I have no idea why, but the committee just continues to love them and put them in there at number 6. So I think they were a big winner. And then, of course, the loser was Auburn. The famous Auburn. I can't even call them Tigers. They're more like they're more like Cubs. They're more like the Auburn Cubs.
The kittens.
The kitties. I would say the biggest loser. I wouldn't even say was Auburn. I would say was that little Auburn, was that fan, that little kid, man, caught crying, just absolutely looked demoralized. He looked. I mean, it was beautiful. It was just absolutely beautiful to watch. It's just the state of their program. They've been down for the last 2 to 3 years. But even though they lost to New Mexico State, you still cannot count out the voodoo magic, which is Jordan Hare, because they'll lose to New Mexico State and then they'll somehow some way compete and make it a game against us somehow. So we got to get focused on that. But Auburn definitely was the biggest loser of the week.
I said this earlier in my stream. I said Auburn will still somehow figure out a way to come out and play like the 85 Bears against Alabama. Like, they're going to come out and look like one of the best teams you've ever seen play inept football. And
they're
it's
like
going
cockroaches.
It is going to drive Jance and I up a wall. But I still think Alabama is going to prevail. And Surfer, Auburn needs their SEC badges snatched off their jerseys. It feels like as much as the SEC has rivalries amongst each other, it's almost like we're all, that meme from King of the Hill where they're trying to get out of the pool and they just keep kicking them back in. That's the rest of the SEC to Auburn. Just someone posted that on Twitter this weekend. I don't remember who, and it was so accurate. Jay, same question. Winners and losers from this weekend, and you don't have to find a different loser. If you want to keep piling on Auburn, far be it from me to stop you.
I mean, I know that is the tradition here as we prepare for the Iron Bowl that you
traditions are beautiful.
On Auburn, and I totally get it. I'm not even gonna deny it. It's fantastic. I love it. I came here specifically to hear y'all do it. But if I'm going to go winners, I'm going with Washington. So kind of the opposite of Jans. They went out there and they sealed the deal against Oregon State, winning that game 22-20. And in that, it looked like Oregon State was causing problems for him. And then Michael Penix, did what he needed to do. Made a play here and there. DJ Uiagalelei threw 2 interceptions. But at the same time, Penix did not have a very good game. 13 for 28. That's less than 50%. And that's nowhere near what he's done this season. And so the ability to overcome the adversity at Corvallis when you can't feel your hands playing in that weather and playing in that stadium, I was impressed with what Washington was able to put together. They have been skating by in every game since the Oregon game, and now we're going to get to see that matchup. That rematch is going to happen. And if I'm going to go losers, I'm definitely staying in the Pac-12 because it's got to be USC. Guys, they've lost 5 of their last 6 games. This is embarrassing.
Look at the defense.
So bad. They fired the defensive coordinator and look worse. Like
it cost me the perfect weekend on my Bleacher Report picks.
Yes, they did. And as mad as I am for them doing that, you did technically cheat your way up there. So we won't talk about how you put voodoo magic in all your picks. But I digress. That game was an embarrassment of a game. You lose to a team that's basically said they're firing their head coach. I mean, you should have. They said this 2 weeks early. Black Monday is coming up. I would have anticipated that you would have actually shown up and shown out for your quarterback, especially the last game of the season against your rival. Kills me. 38-20. They were beat. The score didn't feel that close at all.
They got beat to death.
Just beating those boys in their face the
death.
Entire game. That's horrible. So, Pac-12, I got to give it to y'all. Y'all have given us the most entertainment of any conference in college football right now.
I want to put
Colorado's rise and fall to Arizona coming out of nowhere, USC's demise, and Oregon and Washington really looking like competitive, like people that can compete in the playoffs. It's been a fun conference. Shout out to the Pac-12. Now that you're dead, that's also the other loser in this is the actual conference itself. Now that it's literally gone after next weekend, hurts my heart to say that, but it's dead.
Now, I'd like to put a pin in this for a second. We're going to get back to winners and losers. That's where we are, Brinsky. As you join us, happy you're here. It's ironic. I just watched Pulp Fiction yesterday. So crazy you're wearing that shirt. But here's what I want to talk about, guys. USC moves next year to the Big Ten, right? So they already have to find a new defensive coordinator. I've talked about this ad nauseum. You have got to fundamentally change the way you run not only the defense if you're Lincoln, that's why you got to hire somebody, but the strength and conditioning program because you were getting out physicaled all the time. Yes. Not some of the time, all the time.
Yep.
Here's the bad part. I know that the Big Ten is one of the better conferences. There's no doubt about that. But I think we can also agree, I know the SEC gets the argument a lot that the SEC is top heavy. I think if it's fair to say that about the SEC, it's more than fair to say that about the Big Ten. Right? I think that the Big Ten can also benefit from the argument of it being pretty top heavy in terms of Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. Now, here's why I bring all that up, gentlemen. Even if you believe the argument that it's top heavy, they still play sound football. They play disciplined football, and they play a physical brand of football. On top of all of those things, look where Lincoln has to go to. He can't run from UCLA. He can't run from Oregon or Washington. They're all going to be there with him. So the teams that he's already failing to beat in the Pac-12 this year, and yes, you can say, oh, but he beat them the year before. That's true, but he still had Caleb. He still had Caleb Williams. Like, there's no excuse for the team to have regressed at the rate in which they did. I don't know what Oregon has at quarterback, but I know Dan Lanning recruits really damn well. I know Washington is losing their quarterback. I don't know if y'all heard, they're real excited about their young guy, Austin Mack, behind Penix. So you're leaving the Pac-12 to go to the Big Ten, and the teams that are beating you in the Pac-12 are following you to the Big Ten, mixed with the two teams that you have to face. Guys, kind of open discussion on that. What are your thoughts? That Truth says that's not irony, that's coincidence.
Them going to the big is gonna be bad. And you really hit the nail on the head there that they have to have a fundamental top to bottom refresh of what the heck they're doing. Honestly, I feel bad to say it for them. Probably needs to get rid of the entire defensive staff on top of their strength program, their strength guy. Get rid of Wiley. You got to go ahead and start from scratch on that side of the ball, plus getting your players in the right shape and preparation for the Big Ten, because the one thing the Big Ten is going to do to you, they're going to muscle you. And that's what that conference is known for. Big offensive linemen, big defensive linemen. We've seen some top 5 picks at the defensive line from those schools. I mean, Oregon has put out one as well in Thibodeau, but Ohio State and Michigan's put out some top 5 linemen. Iowa has done it. Iowa puts out offensive linemen like crazy, and that's like the one thing they're known for, even though their offense is always inept. Penn State's got the top tackle in the country right now. You're going to be going against some big linemen. Nebraska, even for all of the bad things about them, they still produce linemen. So
they play physical
because of that.
Wisconsin,
like, it's funny.
Yep.
You can keep naming off schools over and over, just the way the Big Ten is built. If you ain't out there trying to muscle with them boys, you're going to have some struggles in conference. And I think that's the one thing about that conference is you have to recruit to win that conference. That may not win you national championships, but you have to find a way to win that conference to get the opportunity to win national championships. You see what I'm saying? Like Ohio State and Michigan has always out-recruited everybody at the same time as recruiting to win in conference. That's why they don't have a lot of titles, because the SEC has always been superior in that capacity as far as coaching goes. But you got to recruit to win that conference. And right now,
well, and for USC,
let's refresh that staff. It's not going to work.
Well, and for USC to come in and not only you have the West Coast to recruit and everything like that, but you're going to have to recruit that region. And those teams are already established in those regions with the big offensive and defensive linemen. So USC is going to have to figure out a way to get some of those big offensive linemen, get some of those D tackles, get some running backs that are, from those type of areas. And it's going to be tough. And whether Lincoln Riley leaves, stays, whatever he's going to do. And for the next coach or whoever that comes into USC, no matter who it is, they're going to have to be able to recruit the Big Ten region and be competitive with those teams that like to line up and run the football and play smash mouth football. You're going to have to get tougher. Like you said, Jay, you're going to have to put some meat on you and no more yoga. You're going to have to get after it. So it's going to be interesting to see what USC does,
Yeah, the bad part about it is they still have 300-pounders on an offensive line. It's just for some reason they just cannot get a push. They can't anything. And so, they've got work. That's basically my thought behind USC.
When you take a look at one of the biggest issues with the USC right now, they're getting out-recruited in their own state.
Yeah.
They have 6 players that they got from the state of California out of if we're talking about the top 50 players in the state of California, they only got 6. Oregon's got 9. I think Arizona has around 5. Georgia, I think Georgia's up there. They've got 3 players. Colorado, they've got a player up there. Alabama, of course, Alabama has their course. They got the best one in Julian Sand as far as looking at the quarterback position wise. Notre Dame's got a player in there as well. Like Auburn, Auburn's got a mixture in there. Oklahoma's got a couple of players. Like when you take a look at and the list goes on and on and on. When you take a look at the top 100, it's even more astounding. They're just getting out recruited in their own state. So now all of a sudden you have to, we all know how these teams that join conferences goes. Like once you join the conference, now all of a sudden, right, these players, they're going to take a look at the landscape. They're going to take a look at what you're going against, and they're going to be more open to looking at other schools that are in your conference just to get the feel in the gap, get the landscape in there as well. So you may have other schools like in Michigan, like in Ohio State, like in Iowa, who's known for producing top quality offensive linemen, tight end. I mean, they're tight end. I know Georgia wants to get that title, but they're tight end. Iowa, when you talk about producing tight ends, they're the best at it. So all of a sudden, these schools can get in the mix, try to get some of the talent that's in there. Not to mention the fact that UCLA, Oregon, who's out recruited you by far. It's looking sad right now, guys. It's really looking sad right now when you're taking a look at USC position. The fact that they're already getting out recruited in the Pac-12 conference, they're not really competing, at least for this year. I think they're in the top. I mean, they're in the top 4, top 5, but you're not beating Washington, you're not beating Oregon already, and then you have to go ahead and you have to compete with other recruiting giants as well, and you're not really developing your players from your class at a speedy rate. It's a big problem. It's a big issue right now, and this is the danger of using the transfer portal. The transfer portal can be your best friend at times, but it is not something that you can use for a long rate. You can't go out there and get 15, 16, 17 players in the portal and every single year and thinking that you're just going to be successful and going to be competing for national championships. At some point, you're going to have homegrown talent. But the issue is USC, when you take a look at the local area, even in Southern Cal, you have the best high school division in all of America. In basketball, football region, you have the best in the Trinity League. You have Mater Dei and St. John Bosco, who once again might be competing for a national championship. And you don't even have more than 5 of those players combined on your roster. So it's a big issue. It's a big issue right now when it comes to all around, not just from what they have right now on their roster and their coaching staff, but in recruiting standpoint, they're getting absolutely dismantled.
To your point, Jance, I want to hit something you talk about because this is really interesting. Of the top 5 players in the state of California, 0 are currently committed to the Trojans. Of the top 10, only 2. Of the top 15, once again, only 2. Of the top 20, 3. Of the top 25, 3. It gets to 5 once we get to the top 30 players. You don't have to win all the battles in your state, but you want to take a look at who they're losing out on. Aiden Breland, number 11 player in the nation, number 4 defensive lineman in the nation from Mater Dei. Julian Sayin, top quarterback in the nation. Brandon Baker, number 1 offensive tackle in the nation.
It gets worse. It gets worse when you look at the top. When you look at the top 150, it gets worse. It gets way worse.
It gets much worse. Yes.
Good God.
Xavier Brown, top cornerback in the state.
Alabama.
Going to Alabama. I mean, they are rating your state. And Jason, I'm going to pass it to you with this right here. I defended not the move. I didn't defend the move. But I would defend Lincoln as a coach in areas, right? Being like, hey, he made it to the dance. That's a lot more. But do you want to know what I just can't sink my teeth into? And I think it's because I'm a really competitive person. You left to go to the mecca of college football because you couldn't recruit in Oklahoma. And you're getting worked. Jason, talk to me.
Yeah, the mecca of college football that I think you said a minute ago that you don't have to win all the recruits in your state, but you need to
win the ones you need.
Hey, you got to win the ones you want, period. And he's not even doing that part. I would say that this weekend, the biggest loser of all, not just USC, it's Lincoln Riley. He has been absolutely dethroned as one of the top coaches in the country over these last 6 weeks. And this week, especially, you're going into a game with a coach that's on the hot seat. Everybody said he was going to be fired at the end of the day. And now they're backpedaling, saying that, oh no, that was not correct information, blah, blah, blah. They weren't saying it wasn't correct information the whole freaking week going into it. The guy that should have been on the hot seat and should be on the hot seat is Lincoln Riley. And I'm going to tell you, where we thought that you probably had him following Caleb or going to the NFL, I don't think there's any way in hell he gets a job in the NFL right now. Maybe as a coordinator, but I don't think there's any way in hell. The bottom line is this. I think that where it's really come apart here at USC, and where it's so much different from Oklahoma is this. Jay, our friend USC Jay, he's always out there, and he's been talking a lot lately about how this is not what you saw out of Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. This is not what they looked like on offense. This is not this and that and this and that. The difference was this: Lincoln had longer to really screw up what was going on there when Coach Stoops was still there. He took over a program that was ready-made for them to go and win. I mean, they were in the playoff the next season. They had been in the playoff the year before, not the year before, but 2 years before that with Baker Mayfield. They had a group of guys that had been together, and they had a culture that was established. It took him that 5 years to really screw that whole thing up. And he knew when it got to that point that it was to that point and bounced out of there while his name still had some cachet to it, and he could still take the eventual Heisman Trophy winner with him. They didn't play Washington. They didn't play Oregon last season. The one really good team that they played in the Pac-12 beat them twice. So they looked a lot better than, on paper than they were. They looked a lot better. And in the end, this year, you could see it coming from a mile away. Even from game one, they let, San Jose State put up 28 on them. You knew right then and there. They were getting out physical game one by a group of 5 team from the Mountain West that won 2 games a year ago. The bottom line is this: if anybody's stock has fallen, it is absolutely Lincoln Riley's. And because they did not have the same kind of thing. He did not inherit a great situation at USC. He didn't. He was able to add a few pieces here and there, but when you bring in Wiley, the yoga instructor, and you don't get bigger, you get smaller, and the physical stuff goes out the window right away because, look, they just did not have the same situation there that he inherited at OU. It got bad quick. When you saw them play against Notre Dame and get completely obliterated, and Notre Dame wasn't even on the field that much, it was clear what was going on there. I think that he's definitely lost. He lost a lot more than just a football game this weekend. He has completely lost his reputation as one of the best coaches in the country.
Yeah, it's been tough to watch because what defensively changed from last year? You had a year to develop these guys, and it doesn't look like it at all. I mean, you couldn't tell that staff had been implementing a year's worth of development from any way, shape, or form. Brinsky, I'm going to pass it to you, and then we're going to hit back onto our topic of winners and losers. What are you thinking about USC, where they currently sit, and the move to the Big Ten?
I learned a long time ago, if you're not winning your state in recruiting, you're not going to win much at all. And out of all the champions of the past, I'll just use Alabama, for example. What Nick Saban started to do. All the top players in the state were going to Alabama when he took it. You got to win your state. I don't care what players you bringing in from what state. You have to win your state if you're going to go far in this. And it's sad to see Lincoln Riley just even fall the way he's falling. He looked like he just checked out of the job. Now, probably you asked me, I think we talked about it like 2 weeks ago, is he out of there? I was like, nah, man, he ain't going nowhere. Just having a down year. But looking at him these past couple of weeks, he looked like he checked out of that job. And if you telling me he may leave, I believe it. I just don't see USC growing, especially losing Caleb. And I feel like they're going to lose. We're going to get a surprise person in the portal from USC that's a big name. I don't know who, but it's going to be a surprise name. I just don't know. Especially them moving to the Big Ten. You guys said it best with those big old offensive linemen and Iowa having tight end U, which they are hands down tight end U. Man, they got a long road. If you can't even win the Pac-12, what you think you about to do in the Big Ten? I don't think you about to do much at all. Especially
when the team that might be winning the Pac-12 is following you to the Big Ten. Yep. It's just like you can't escape the demons that are getting you now. Go ahead.
My fault. And the crazy thing is, man, when y'all was saying something about Dan Lanning and them, I don't know if I think Chip Kelly's still at UCLA. Yeah, but more than likely he's going to be fired anyway. But where's Dante Moore gonna go? Is he gonna go to Oregon? That would be a great pickup because he was already committed there. Then he flipped. That would be a great pickup for Oregon just to go into the Big Ten. I just see it happening. I don't see him going anywhere else. I don't see him staying at UCLA at all. But what's the point? I don't even know how Chip Kelly convinced you to lead him. I thought Dan Lanning.
And Dan Lanning can recruit his ass
Bag
off.
of cash.
But he about to get him back easily.
I mean, Chip Kelly, he got Dorian Thompson Robinson looking pretty good over there for the Browns. So, I mean, the argument is there that Chip can do well. I mean, Mariota, he's got a list of quarterbacks he's done well with.
It ain't like
at the same time, that man about to get fired.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's why I said I don't see him staying there at all. Like, what is the point?
Moore's gone. You're right. I think he decides to just go right back to Oregon.
That would be the shock of the year if he just stays there. I don't even see the point of you even staying there. And trust me, Dan Lanning will welcome you with open arms, but he'll remind you, so you should have stayed here the first time.
Now, here's the thing. Lanning going over there is interesting because you look at how he's able to recruit right now, and I think Oregon is a team that could pull off some big flips before signing day. The way they're recruiting, the way their NIL is mobilized, and especially if they do well, they're going to be really, really interesting. Really, really interesting. Now, Brinsky, we're going to remain with you. Winners and losers from this weekend. Once again, you don't have to stray if you think the answer is USC, Auburn, or if you think one of the winners is one of the winners someone has already named. But give me your winner and loser from this weekend.
I would love to start with the loser because the biggest loser is Auburn. I don't know anybody that's a bigger loser than Auburn. Like, you paying the team almost $2 million so you can beat them down and you get blown out by 21 points. As an Alabama fan, I loved every last second of it. I wish they planted the flag right in the middle of the field.
That would have put the cherry on top.
That toilet paper on the football field. Get that toilet paper like they do for Toomer's Treat. Throw it around that football field in the goalpost. New
Mexico State should have rolled Toomer's corner.
Man, and the best part about it, man, because I'm in Opelika, and Auburn is right down the street. I promise you, I wanted to get in the car so bad just to drive, just to look at it, just look butt naked out there with no toilet paper on, and be like, y'all need to take that toilet paper back to Walmart, don't you? But yeah, man, just they easily the biggest losers. I would say the biggest winners. Now, I'm gonna add one more loser, but it's just because they lost their quarterback, Florida State, with Jordan Travis.
Impossible to argue with that one.
Yeah, so I just don't see them getting in there. I just don't see them getting there without Travis. So they in some deep shit right now, man. I am really worried about them right now. And biggest winner, I think they're putting themselves in the best position to make the playoffs. I would say Washington, but they still got to play Oregon. It's so many factors in this.
The pack is wild.
Man, it's so many factors. I want to say, I can't say nobody from the Big Ten because Michigan and Ohio State got to play each other. Florida State would have been the obvious answer if they didn't lose Jordan Travis. But there's no really big winners this weekend, for real, for the most part. But those are the two biggest losers, hands down.
I love it. Well, let's give it to let's see, Jason, biggest winner and biggest loser from the weekend.
Biggest winner. Let's see. I guess as a team, it would be Washington because they still have an opportunity to get into the playoff now. And then, yeah, I think it's that. But I also think that you could argue that the biggest loser was Michael Penix in that game because I think he lost the Heisman Trophy the other day. He was awful.
Interesting.
He was awful. And meanwhile, you still have a chance for a guy, right down there at LSU, and Jaden Daniels, he goes out there and has 8 touchdowns the other day. Now, again, they played their Sisters of the Poor game. But that being said, he's already got 13 more touchdowns than Penix. He's got 6 more than Bo. And he's going to go up against one of the better defenses in the country this week in their finale against A&M. So I believe that Penix probably lost the Heisman, even though his team won. And I think he would probably trade that. I don't think there's any way you can argue at this point that there's anybody better in this country than Jaden Daniels. I don't think that there's any way you can. 45-91. He's got less interceptions than anybody in the country except for Bo, but he's got them both by 900 yards total offense, and he's a 1,000-yard rusher with 10 touchdowns there. How in the world do you? This is not a team award. It's not a team award. They gave it to Caleb Williams last year, and he wasn't going into the playoff. You've got to give this thing to Jaden Daniels. He is the best player in the country. He's proven that. If they just have a serviceable defense, who's to say, what it would look like? The teams that they've lost to have a combined 3 losses, and 2 of the 3 are still in contention for the playoffs. He played well in both of those games. It's crazy. He hadn't had a bad game yet, and he's missed time with injury and with all of that, and still goes out there week after week putting up numbers. If there's a better player in the country, please show me who it is.
Drew, toss it to you, and then I'll round it out.
Well, since you guys already stole my loser, which is Florida State, I'm going to go winners first. I'm going to go the Arizona Wildcats. Demolished Utah. 5th straight win in a row, 42-18. I mean, they're playing freaking lights out right now. And then another winner, I've got Louisville's coach, Jeff Brom. Last year, led Purdue to their first conference championship. Louisville right now, they're rolling with what they've got going on and have a chance to win the ACC this year with what they're doing. So those are 2 winners of mine. Losers, I was going to say Florida State because of Jordan Travis, but I will say, stick in the same state, I will say Florida and Billy Napier. 6-7 last year, 5-5 right now this year. Oh man, it's a rough go down there in Gainesville for the Florida Gators. So I'm going to go with Billy Napier and the Florida Gators right now, just struggling. And I think they need to find a way to get that train back on track before he has, it's slowly but surely coming off the tracks. So Billy Napier, my loser. Winners, Arizona and Louisville, Jeff Brom.
Before we open this up to just a general discussion on this, I'll go ahead and give you mine. For winners, I got to give Arizona some love. Jay, you were 100% right weeks ago. Every week that has gone on, I continue to give you your flowers there because it's deserved. Arizona is a real threat. What we are seeing there is unbelievable. And that wide receiver with that young quarterback, it's must-see football. If you're not tuned in, please tune in. You're going to have a blast. Another winner, guys, Georgia. They laid waste to Tennessee, and Tennessee hadn't lost in their own stadium in 2 years. Now, I knew that Georgia would beat them. I think
Jay.
I just didn't think that Tennessee this year could compete with Bama or Georgia, right? We talked about this with not the way their offense is formulated, not this year. Georgia handled business. They put a stamp that, yeah, we're number 1. Go ahead and keep that ranking right there because Michigan damn near lost to Maryland, right? Georgia looked like the number 1 team in the nation, which for Jan Sprinsky and I being Bama fans, that's good. Because if we get through Auburn, beat Georgia in a SEC championship game, we need Georgia to be stacking these impressive wins. And they had a really, really impressive win. Let's get to losers. I got 2, and they're both in the SEC.
Before you do that, Ty,
Go ahead,
real
please,
quick.
please.
The Arizona piece, I wanted to jump in that real quick.
Deserved.
Fafita came in there as a freshman playing against Washington. And when I saw him play against them, I was like,
yeah.
Oh, there's something different about this kid. There's just it's something about it. Some of the throws he were making, where he was placing the ball.
That's high school days, man. Since when he played at Servite, tearing up in the Trinity League with him and Tatora McMillan. Literally, you make an argument that's one of the best 1-2 punch combos in the country. They've been playing in high school. They've been playing with each other for I think 7 or 8 years since Little League.
It makes me ask the question, Dorian Singer, are you questioning the fact that you transferred from there to go to USC instead? And now you look at what's going on at Arizona. After that, the USC game. I mean, Fafita was out there at 5 touchdowns. He was going back and forth with them, and they just couldn't. They just ran out of time basically in that game. And then since then, they rolled off 5 straight wins, and they've been doing it convincingly in a lot of these situations. It looks like they're building something special with the Jetfish. Shout out to that, man. That's the only reason why I want to jump in real quick. No, we talk about your losers, man. Arizona, man, shocked me. After that, watch the game, I was like, man, they may, even in a loss, I was like, they may be something there, and boo, they've exceeded even my expectations. No lie.
I think Arizona is a team that other teams are looking at and circling, hoping they don't draw for the bowl game. I think that's a team that teams aren't because they're young, they're exciting, they're explosive. It's a really fun team
playing with house money,
and they beat the hell out of Utah.
Everybody's saying that Utah's just going to run the Big 12 already, and I've been guilty of that. Arizona whooped that ass, and they're coming with them.
Yeah,
true. And Fafita's coming with them next year.
Fafita and McMillan.
You're right. And McMillan, they be back with him next year.
It's a young team. It's a
Justin
really young
Flo,
team.
Autumn boys. They all
Justin Flo. I mean, you talk about one of the most hyped linebacker prospects. Guys, when Justin Flo was in high school, I genuinely thought they needed to call the CPS to some of his games. He was attempting murder out there. That was a child of God he was playing against, and he was trying to eliminate them. That guy has got violent intent. The only thing that's happened is injury. That's a transfer portal destination to watch as well. Because some of these guys might
look what they're
go ahead.
Look what they're doing in the state of California. Exactly. Look what they were doing in recruiting. Yep. They're killing it. They're doing their thing. That's all I want to say.
No,
and it's absolutely a dog. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But you don't think for 1 second that this coach isn't one of the better coaches that nobody really talks about too.
Yeah, Fish deserves some respect. On that
Jetfish, put some spec on his name because that dude is a baller.
The one thing I'll give to him too is that he did something that I've never seen actually done at Arizona in probably the last 20-something years of me following college sports, is he locked up the top offensive player in his own state. That's not something that ever happens in the state of Arizona. Go back and look at the past classes. Arizona never wins the top player in their state. Neither does Arizona State. They've got the top offensive player at quarterback. They had Elijah Rushing and lost him to Oregon. I wonder if they can find a way to flip the kid back the way they're playing, but Oregon's playing too well and they got that bread, so it's going to be hard to do it, but at the same time.
Hey, I will mention – go ahead. Sorry.
They're winning players in state, and that's not something that they ever do. At least getting the top guy. That's something I'm impressed with. Jetfish was able to turn the tables on that. And Drew, I think we've talked about this before. That's probably the worst thing about how Arizona State operates. They can't keep in-state guys. And Jance, you mentioned it. You ain't winning in-state guys. Success, man.
You have to. It doesn't matter how great your state is. You got to get the best of your state, or else you're not going to be great on a national level.
And they got a 5-star plus guy too.
Yeah.
You got to figure out how to get Elijah Rushing to come back. Come on home, Elijah.
They need to get him back. Now, to my two losers, staying in the SEC for both of them, I take great pride in this first one. Do I even need to say
my
it?
Undergrad at New Mexico State, by the way.
Do I even need to say it? Gentlemen, I gave Miami hell all offseason for what? Losing to a 4-letter acronym team. I said one thing and one thing only. You can lose to one of these small schools. God forbid it's a 4-letter acronym. I will come down on you with the fury of 1,000 wins. Like, I just don't understand how you allow this to happen. You paid them. Gentlemen, I want you to imagine you invite someone over for Thanksgiving. You paid them $1.8 million to come over and tell you that the food is great to hype you up. And instead they flip your table, they smack your mama, and they put their finger right in the middle of the pie and
then
take
get
out
paid.
that middle scoop.
Not
They take
pumpkin,
the money,
pumpkin pie.
the pumpkin, the sweet potato,
Oh.
the apple pie, all of them. I'm talking they ruin all of them. They take the money, shake your hand, and walk out. That's what just
Yeah,
happened.
and then that pie they had before, they just pie you in the face and then hit the door.
It was incredible. Jay?
Mexico State's 9-3.
Chattanooga was what? Chattanooga wasn't a bad team, and
7-3.
Alabama laid waste.
Man, I don't care what you talking about. Some 9-3, man. That is, I don't care, man. Their record against SEC schools all time. I made sure I took that picture was 0-25, and Auburn would be the one
1 in
to lay
25.
that. Oh, now it's 1-25 now.
You know what?
But
You know what's funny, fellas, about this? I was actually, you know what? I was actually mad at it. I was actually mad. I wasn't even excited. I wasn't thrilled or anything because you know why? Because the expectation for us now is you have to dominate.
Yeah,
You have to dominate that team. You can
Hey,
if
you
you
know-
play a close game against them, that's going to affect
Right.
Alabama as far as trying to get them, above Oregon, above Texas. You have to dominate them now. If Auburn would have won that game, the chances of them potentially going in there ranked would have been pretty high, right?
I think
Because they were on. Go ahead.
no, I think the committed man. I think anybody that understands that stadium, it's hard to win in there. Of course, they're gonna get up for Alabama.
Hold on. I want to interject right here. This is another loser. Is you guys' whole BS about Jordan Hare Stadium and the mystique,
Here we
okay,
go.
or the haunting.
Uh-oh.
That loss
haunting.
right there just laid waste to you guys saying that crap anymore.
Not necessarily. And I'll tell you why. Well, no, I'll genuinely tell you why. If this was in the middle of the season, I would completely agree with you. Who do they draw next week? Bama. I think Auburn wasn't even focused on this team and was completely looking ahead to Bama, thinking they'd just go out there and run right through them. Now, you're certainly right, Jason. It hurt the argument, but I think that the argument still pertains. But it did hurt it a bit, no doubt.
But the thing was, I'm about to say, what has Nick Saban been preaching all last week? Don't think ahead. Focus on right now. Because he knows in the past, those guys thinking ahead. I can't even remember what team it was.
Georgia Southern
was-
and Georgia Southern. When
Yeah, I'm like, we were struggling.
The best defense statistically in college football was 2011. Well, we could talk about 2021. Statistically, 2011's Bama defense was the best. They didn't even allow a team to score more than 17 points on them. But one team, Georgia Southern, 21 points. Because we weren't focused.
Exactly.
Weren't
That's
focused.
why he kept saying, like, focus on this week. And that's why they dominated this week, because they wasn't looking ahead. Auburn was looking ahead because they're like, oh man, we got this. And then they was already rolling. Then they beat Arkansas. They got the big head. And then you see what happened when you look ahead. You got to focus on week to week. And that's why I said you'll find out about Jordan here when I do Oklahoma play there.
Yes, we go there next season.
Bet. I want
he
that same
said
energy.
bet.
I
tell
want
you,
that
man,
same energy.
Ask Georgia how it feels to
Yeah,
play in
that's
Jordan
what-
Hare.
hey, why do you think I even said that? Because I don't want to hear that crap anymore.
Okay. Okay. Well, you gonna
He's gonna
find-
cover his own tracks.
I
that's
pray.
right.
Do y'all play them early in the year or later in the year?
We don't
No,
know
I-
yet. The
I
24th.
respect-
Oh yeah. Because they ain't put
Yeah,
the
it's
schedule.
before
out.
schedule
But
right
I
now, yeah, but
pray
yes.
it's early, so you can find out early and you can apologize. Like, oh, okay, never mind.
No, I respect. Jason is basically trying to burn the sage from a distance, right? He's trying to do what I'm going to do next week when I get there about 2 hours early.
But Sip and Sooner said it last week is that OU doesn't know nothing about that. They've never had to deal with anything like
No,
that.
true.
It's
true.
not something that's in your thinking. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So,
That's
you know,
100%
when it comes to that kind of stuff, that's where I was at with that. It was like, man, and
But
then it
people
took,
rarely
it took a
deal with
real
the
hit. It took a
supernatural.
real hit this week. If they can't beat New Mexico State at home, you don't really
But
get a lot
that's
of excuses
Auburn.
if you're Alabama.
But that's Auburn, right? Like that's just some
is pretty
Auburn,
Auburn,
stuff, right? Like that's just
The
I don't know
crying
how else to
kid,
explain
all
it.
that was great.
It's
The
just
whole crying kid thing,
Auburn.
love it.
Oh, you talking about the kid that had his hand just like this? Oh my God, that was
Perplexed.
priceless.
You know that in that moment he was wondering what decision led him to being an Auburn fan, and he might not be one anymore. But my second loser, once again residing in the SEC, is a team that someone has already talked about. Florida. Guys, we're about to get into another segment, Coaches on the Hot Seat. And I don't want to say Napier should be on the hot seat because I have always been adamant coaches need at least 3 years. Give them 3 years, and on year 4, let's see what's up. Now, if it's terrible, it's terrible.
True.
Guys, they've lost to Georgia, which is fine. If Georgia beats you, cool. I don't care, right? Like you lost to one of the better teams in college football. Congratulations. They then lost to Arkansas. Not good. LSU beat them down. Not great. Missouri comes in there, and they have this game won. 99.7% chance to win the game with 1 minute and 16 seconds left. And Missouri wins. I don't get it. I feel like Dr. Evil, but instead of him telling Scott Evil, you just don't get it, he's looking at his own mirror. Or he's looking at his own reflection in the mirror, and he's like, you just don't get it, do ya? No, quite frankly, I don't get it. I don't understand what's happening at Florida, and I like Napier. I wanted him to succeed, but there's no question that the Florida Gators have got to be on the list of losers for the weekend for me, and that gets us into really 3 other conversations we need to have, and we can bleed these in together because we're already at 46 minutes. This has been, I mean, how can you have that winners and losers segment and not have it thorough and stretched out? That phrasing. Heisman talk. I think this can be fairly simple. We can go around the table. I'll kick us off. I have been championing Michael Penix for a year. I thought it was a disservice that he was not in New York last year. And all year I have championed Michael Penix. And I think he is unbelievable. But I would be doing myself and everybody watching a disservice because I don't have him as my front runner anymore. Jaden Daniels, ladies and gentlemen, is playing the position at as high of a level as anybody in the nation. And before I pass this around, there's only one thing I'd like to say about this, something that frustrates me with the state. And I didn't get to talk about this earlier, so if you were in the earlier stream, this is what I was saying when I wanted to rant about something. Something that just grinds my gears about this industry, right? It's that we had a take from a guy who does a good job. I'm not going to say names, right? Because that's not what this is about. The guy does a really good job. But his whole point was, oh, well, I just watched Michael Penix and Bo Nix do this, and Jaden Daniels was playing against Georgia Southern. So, therefore...
Yeah, 8 touchdowns against them, though.
His argument was, therefore, because it was Georgia Southern, it nullifies the entire body of work. And I was like, buddy, object permanence is something we learn early on in life. Like, we can't forget the rest of the season's existence because you don't like that LSU is playing Georgia Southern today. What about what he did against one of the top defenses in the nation, Alabama? What about what he has continued to do? That argument to me drove me up a wall, and I think it's because I come from debate, and it is such a bad faith argument to be like, well, Bo Nix played Arizona State today, and Michael Penix played ranked team today. But what does that have to do with the entire body of work? Jaden Daniels has been sensational. That's not to take away from the other guys. Give me Jaden Daniels. Jance, I'll pass it to you, and then we'll go straight down the line.
Well, yeah, it's a dumb argument to tell. But one thing that I love how they like to mention that Michael Penix and Bo Nix has played this, but they never mention the fact that Jaden Daniels has played more top-ranked defenses than Oregon and Washington combined. They never want to mention that.
And he didn't get USC's defense either.
Go off, King.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Jaden Daniels has played more top-ranked offenses and got into potential shootouts. He's played more top-ranked defenses than both those Heisman Trophy contenders all combined. And I will just say this, for the people that have been championing Michael Penix Jr. To be, why he should be the Heisman frontrunner, let me ask you guys a question. Can we remember the last time that a Heisman Trophy quarterback played terribly against a one-win football team? Because I can't. I can't name a Heisman Trophy quarterback contender that played terribly. The worst game of the season by far against a one Well, now they're 3 wins, but at the time it was 1 win. Like Michael Penix has had 3 really, really bad games where they didn't even need him to win. Now, of course, the Oregon State game, of course, he needed that. It was a beautiful back shoulder throw, beautiful throw. But the Arizona State win, they didn't win that game because of Michael Penix. They won that game because of their defense and a terrible pass interference call, which should have never been called back. That's why they won that game. Jaden Daniels has literally gotten LSU in a position to win almost every single week. And just because he literally has one of the worst defenses, if not the worst defense of all time when it comes to LSU, doesn't mean that shouldn't be a Heisman Trophy contender. Because why didn't we say this about Lamar Jackson? Why didn't we say this about Robert Griffin III? Why didn't we say this about Johnny Manziel when they won their Heisman trophies?
Caleb Williams.
Right? Exactly. Caleb Williams from last year. Jaden Daniels is about to do something, ladies and gentlemen, that only one other quarterback in the history of college football has done, and that's Kyler Murray. And that's potentially throw for 4,000 yards and rush for 1,000. Kyler Murray, who won the Heisman Trophy, is the only other quarterback in the history of college football to do that. Jaden Daniels, even though he's missed time with injury, has 3,500 passing yards. He's number one, I think right now currently in passing yards. He's number one in the country in total touchdowns. He's number one in the country, I believe, in passing touchdowns, and he has over 1,000 yards rushing. If he is not the Heisman Trophy winner by the end of this year, I'm gonna storm it. I'm gonna storm it. Something has to happen, and I know one of these voters who's an Oregon fan kept saying, well, Bo Nix went up against this. He threw 6 touchdowns against Arizona State. Really? We want to talk about ranked wins. You've only won against 1 ranked opponent. You've played against 2. And Utah might not even be ranked next week. They got absolutely obliterated by Arizona, who, by the way, Utah has a backup quarterback in there.
Big day was against Colorado.
Phenomenal day against Colorado. I mean, it's ridiculous, guys. Jaden Daniels is the Heisman Trophy. He should win the Heisman Trophy.
Jay.
So the way that we gave Caleb Williams the Heisman Trophy last year, because he basically looked like the best player in college football and carried USC to those 11 wins they got last year, is the exact reason why Jaden Daniels should win this. Look, I went and looked at some of these efficiencies while everybody's talking because Jason's correct. LSU has played some crazy good defenses. Right. When you look at the efficiency and all the advanced metrics, the teams they play were up there. But this was the thing that jumped out to me the most. LSU has the number 1 ranked offense in efficiency in the country, right? We expect that, right? Jaden Daniels, 4,500 yards, 46 touchdowns, blah, 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 right? Dog, do y'all know where they rank defensively? Their defense is 103rd in efficiency. Special teams, 124th. Literally, he is the team. Literally, if they win, it's because of him. Like, he's figuring it out for this entire team. I did not expect LSU's defense to be this awful. It's awful. And he's doing everything possible to win them games. Dog, if we're going to give it to Caleb like we did last year because of the way he carried USC, you got to give it to Jaden Daniels for the way that he's carrying LSU. In some situations, hell, that Washington win, 15-7, was because of a pick 6. It wasn't Penix. And that's no shade to Penix. Penix has been cooking most of the season. But that win was not because of him. That win was because of the defense. The defense bailed them out of that game, right? Bo Nix probably should be the only person in this big conversation to me because Bodacious has been bodacious. They're the number 2 efficient offense in the country, but they're also number 16 in defensive efficiency. So they're putting in work on both sides of the ball. But Bo's putting them in so big a leads that really the defense ain't got that much work to do, but they're still holding it down. Outside of that, give me Jaden Daniels. That dude deserves 100% because he's literally LSU's entire offense.
Jason, you started this off. I'm going to let you continue to cook.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say it again that, when you talk about the whole body of work, and this is not a freaking team award. This has nothing to do with how good your defense is or if you're in contention for the national championship or not. It's not. Stop making it about that. In the end, Michael Penix, look, I like Michael Penix. I think he's been great. But he's had his games that he lost himself to Heisman. This last week is one of them. He didn't look good. It wasn't about that. If it wasn't for DJU throwing that second interception, they lose that game. because it wasn't anything that he really did. And they were talking about him not being able to hold his hand, feel his hands and all that. But he was did he even complete 50% of his throws? I don't think,
No,
it was somewhere right
13
around
for
there. So
28.
look, in the end, Jaden he's had 3 interceptions the entire season. He's number 1 in QBR. There's no two ways around this. This guy is the freaking Heisman Trophy winner. I just don't want to see that. I just do not want to see that they turn this into who's in the playoff thing, because we know how subjective that is. Now, I think that could happen, and especially if Bo goes on and wins the conference title, I think that you're probably going to see this get screwed off of Jaden Daniels. But if he goes out there and goes up yet against another big time defense, because we all know that that's all A&M has, and he cooks them this week too, it's a foregone conclusion that this thing should be over.
Yeah, to add to that real quick, that's my big point with everything. Jaden Daniels literally is not the reason why they're losing games. He's the reason why they're winning. He is the one carrying everything.
Absolutely.
His defense is failing him every week, and he's still going out there fighting to try to push them forward. Got to get that to the man.
Yeah.
Brensky.
He should be.
They said it best. It's Jaden Daniels. I don't even know why this is even a question. Man, it's almost laughable at this point if you don't think this man is the best player in the country. He won the Heisman a long time ago. They can keep trying to push this bold narrative. Ain't gonna happen. Just take your second place and go home.
You had Canzano there. You had Canzano on there saying that Jaden Daniels would be holding a clipboard at either Oregon or Washington. I think that's the most stupid thing I've ever heard. But that's the kind of stuff that you're getting. He would start either spot. Yes. You gonna tell me Bo Nix would start in front of Jaden Daniels? I doubt that. I'm sorry.
Penix and him would be an amazing quarterback competition, but he'd start at Oregon. All respect due to Bo Nix. You have been fantastic this season, no doubt. That guy's different.
You lost your job to TJ Flynn.
Well, I didn't want to say it, but damn it, now that you've gone there, when that box is opened. So
I was like, man, if somebody said something outrageous like that, like, come on, bro. We just forgot about all this stuff, man. Like, come on, man. Like, they just
go ahead.
Not my fault. I'm about to say, yes, he's playing great right now. Congratulations. But just to say Jaden Daniels will be sitting on the bench is almost laughable at this point. Like, stop it, please.
No, nowhere in the country would that guy sit on the bench. Nowhere.
That's what I'm saying. You lost your job to TJ Finley, man. Like, come on, man. We didn't forget.
Yeah.
Man, Anthony asked question, are there any good quarterbacks already in the transfer portal that Miami can look at? Early, but I know the kid from NC State entered. He needs quite a bit of development, in my opinion. Jant, you know exactly who I'm talking about. His name escapes me. He's the true freshman for NC State that was going to redshirt, or he was their starter after the other guy got hurt. Won them 3 games that they shouldn't have won, and then he decided to redshirt mid-year. Just was like, no, I'm calling it right now. I'm a redshirt. He's hitting the transfer portal. It's not official yet, but let's be honest here. Other than that, Anthony, there will be, no doubt about it, but we just got to wait. The first portal window. I know that guys can enter the portal whenever. They just can't hop around, but everybody waits until that window opens, and then Pandora's box will be here. Guys, I'm going to let y'all choose this next one. All right. I got 2 topics, really 3. I'm going to let y'all pick either 1 or 2 of them. So we have coaches on the hot seat. The Big 12 is in shambles and talking about how in the hell are you deciding how you're going to do your conference championship 2 weeks before the conference championship? That's pathetic. That's one of the most unprofessional things I've seen in a long time from a hundreds of millions of dollars are made here, guys. What the hell are we? That or the transfer portal? What are we feeling?
I'd say the portal we can save because it's really going to heat up after
next week
conference championship weekend. That's going to be because that's when you get the official. That's when the undergrads are eligible. So
I'm with you on that.
Right now, we got grads doing it. And I don't think most of them count. We don't really care about the grads, right? They can transfer any day they want to because they're grads. They've already graduated. But the undergrads is going to be when things get super interesting. So I think we table that for December 4th. That's going to be probably the best day for that one. If you want my vote, I'd rather talk about hot seats because my brain hurts when I think about how Big 12 is trying to figure out how to screw somebody over. I don't even want to even.
I don't get it.
I don't. The math ain't mathing. And they keep changing their mind, adding new words, and then saying they ain't changing nothing, but you added new words. That's actually considered a change. But I digress. I think we should go and talk about these hot seats, though, because the fact that Sam Pittman is back on the job after being fired a week ago, or expected to be fired a week ago, concerns me.
Jance, Brinsky, Jason, what you thinking?
I say hot seat.
Yeah, I'll say.
Yeah, we can go with that. We'll definitely be talking about this Big 12 crap as the week goes on. I think, and on my show probably tomorrow. But so I'm good with hot seat coaches too. That's cool.
Beautiful, guys. Listen, let's say I'm not a man of the people, right? This is a
shout out to Shady Mile.
This dictatorship is as close to a democracy as you'll see a dictatorship be. Okay, this ain't Myanmar. You're not gonna see some lady dancing as a coup is happening behind her. I'm gonna make damn sure of that. All right, coaches on the hot seat. Where do we start? Sam Pittman was an interesting one. Then they come out and say, we're going to stick with you. At some level, I do like that, guys, because you have to give your guys some time. The question is, how much time? Arkansas lost a lot of talent to the transfer portal, and that's something that just cannot continue, especially with the move of Oklahoma and Texas in the SEC. You're talking about a team in Arkansas that was already, at best, a middle to upper middle half team in the SEC, and now you have two top 10 brands coming in there and superseding you. That's interesting. Florida, Billy Napier, another name to look out for. I know Lincoln Riley is a popular one. I don't think he's on the quote-unquote hot seat yet because of his buyout, but gentlemen, that seat's got to be warm, right? When you get in the car in the winter and you turn on that seat warmer, I think that's an adequate description of where he's at. Jance, I'm going to start with you. Hot seat. What are you thinking? What is standing out to you? What do the people need to be looking out for? Who should be on the hot seat? However you want to go with it.
I'm going to go with Mario Cristobal.
Oh, that's
cool. Miami fans are impatient. They're very, very pissed off, and it all started with that Georgia Tech game. Because Miami may be the best 6-4 or 6-5 team I think we've seen, because this is a Miami team that should probably have at least 9 wins at this point. They should be at least in the conversation for competing for a conference championship. And instead, they're in a position now where, like I said, I think they're right. They're good when it comes to a bowl game, but you don't want to be competing in a small time bowl game. This is a Miami team that has still yet to win a ACC conference championship ever since joining from the Big East. This is still one of the most prestigious programs in all of college football. They have a lot of money. They have boosters right behind them like crates. It's Miami, right? You're literally recruiting in one of the hottest areas, 305, one of the hottest areas in pretty much in the world, on planet Earth. They were talking about finding the best athletes, and you can't do nothing. And they've gotten talent. They've gotten really good talent. I think you look at Francis, the offensive tackle. I'm going to script the last name. Yeah, Manoa. He's been really good for them as a true freshman tackle. They got his brother. They got his brother from or his brother, a relative from the portal's been great at the inside linebacking position. Ruben Bain, top 2 freshman in all of college football, right next to Caleb Downs. He's been a killer. They had a freshman running back that's been killing it last week. And yet you are just in a position where you're once again, you're struggling to get 7 wins. It's appalling to me. But ever since that Georgia Tech win, Miami fans have been on Mario Cristobal's neck. Again, you want to try to be patient, but Dan Lanning, who immediately came in right after when Mario Cristobal left Oregon, is all of a sudden on a hot streak. He has a great chance of making the playoffs. He has multiple 10-win seasons since Mario Cristobal left Oregon. Since Mario Cristobal has gone to Miami, they've struggled to get 8 wins, or even they're trying to get 8 wins. That's more championship caliber right now if you look at the last 10, 15 years than what it is in the Pac-12. And the Pac-12 is by far the harder conference than the ACC. That's what's making this thing just so appalling to me. The ACC is by far the weakest Power 5 conference in college football, and yet you still can't find ways to win. You can't beat Georgia Tech. You're struggling. You can't. I mean, in a game against Louisville, you should have won. You should have won both those games, and you ended up screwing them both at the end. I mean, it's just because of coaching decisions, game management, horrible clock management type situations. It's just been bad. It's been really, really bad for them, their coaching wise, and recruits are now starting to see it. They're starting to kind of see it, and they're starting to tell off and go elsewhere. So I think Mario Cristobal is a guy that needs to be on the hot seat. If he can't get this figured out during this offseason and during next season, if he can't get a win, he may not even last next season. He may get fired probably during the midseason.
And before Jay, I pass it to you. That's beautiful. Once again, I want to open it up to the table. How much pressure does Dan Lanning's early success put on a guy like Mario Cristobal, where we're seeing Oregon not miss a beat? And in fact, I think we can argue this Oregon team looks more dangerous than
better.
Yeah.
So what are y'all thinking there? Not too much? Or does someone like Dan Lanning, it's his first time as a head coach, he's young, he's exciting, and he's moving the needle, that's got to do something, right? Subconsciously, consciously. Jay, we'll start with you and then go around.
Yeah, I think with that statement there, Oregon did a really good job of retaining majority of their talent.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Like players didn't follow Mario Cristobal. And that's the one thing we've always said about him. He's a really good recruiter. He's just not a good coach. Kind of makes me think of John Blake back in the 90s with Oklahoma. You could bring in all the talent, but always have him in the wrong spots. Bring in a whole bunch of athletes, but you're playing a wide receiver, which should be playing corner or safety or something, or linebacker, right? That's something that I've seen about Mario. He brings in the talent. No question about that. You see that with Oregon. He showed some success there. Dan Lanning walked in, saw all of these circles, trying to put in circle pegs, putting into square holes, and he's like, no, let's flip this up. Let's shave these up and make them into actual squares or put them in the right spots where they belong. And guess what he did? He developed. He's balling out. And then he brought in a veteran quarterback where he didn't have to think as much, right? Yeah. I mean, Kenny Dillingham there as the initial OC, you were like, okay, good stuff. He leaves, and it keeps going with Bodacious. Smart move of bringing in a veteran that can actually put up numbers. That, my friend, is what's going to hurt Mario, is that he can't coach it himself. He's fired, coach his OC DC there at Miami at least once. It's starting to feel like Charlie Strong at Texas. That was his biggest problem. Charlie Strong wasn't a bad coach. He kept firing his coordinators, and at a certain point, you need to be fired because at certain point you start to realize the mirror points back to you when all these people keep leaving.
Yeah,
that's what they're dealing with there at Miami. So unless he finds some stability in his coordinator spots, that man is definitely gonna be gone very soon.
Yeah, tough to argue that. Jason Brinsky, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was just, and I answered to Eric in there. Mario left him a good team, and then he said, remember that Mario beat Ohio State at the shoe. Yeah, and the next week he went home and lost to Arizona State. I mean, I would tell you that, yeah, he's a much better recruiter than he is a coach. I don't know how much time they give him at Miami, although him being an alum and playing for a national championship team there may give him a little more time than what you give some of the others.
True.
I think he needs a big win here, to end the are they done with that? I mean, it's pretty much, does he have any good games left to win? Even?
I don't think so.
I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. But, I mean, it seems like 2 years is probably still a little less than what I feel like he should probably stay. But that being said, his leash probably will not be very long if he survives.
True. Brinsky?
I do like the Mario Cristobal thing. I just think he just ain't have enough time to you got, like I always say, you say 3 years, I say 4 years. Because at least you'll know around that time, if they still playing like this their first year, you'll be like, okay, I know what I got. We need to get rid of this person or whatnot. And you say the best, him playing there and winning that championship there, he'll get more time there.
You
But-
almost have to do it anyway, though. I mean, if you get to have the reputation of the school that fires everybody in 2 years, then who the hell wants to go coach there?
That's a good point.
Yeah, because I ain't gonna lie, man. That Georgia Tech loss was ugly, man. I ain't gonna lie. They probably lost them a year right there, just
I'll
because.
give you that. I'll give you that one.
And
He's
then New
cost them
Mexico
games.
State University last year.
He's legit costing them games. That's what's hurting his stock right now. He's probably lost them 3 games because of horrible clock management decisions or horrible game management type decisions. It's terrible uses of timeouts. Coaches and coaching staffs, him and his coaching staffs are really having it out. They're not seeing eye to eye, but you hire them, so it's phenomenal recruiting trail.
Riddle me this, because my memory is not the best. Didn't that same thing happen a few years ago in 2017 against Stanford? Mario Cristobal winning the game up, has the ability to knee it and take it to the W, and then they run. Is my memory hazy there, or am I pretty on brand?
No,
You are in the
brand.
haze at that point. I think you're a little hazy, but at the same time, you're pretty
Hazed and confused.
It's
Yeah,
real.
I just wanted to make sure I was thinking about the right
I'm
situation.
saying, man, it's just crazy how, like, I have somebody else, but it just, the more and more we talk about Mario Cristobal, it's just like, bro, come on, man. Like that Jordan, if they fired him right after the game, I would understand, because if I was a big fan of Miami, man, I would have been like, bro, fire everybody. But I know the one thing that always makes me laugh every time I hear Miami, it's a short with Julian Sand, and I always forget the former Hurricane. He was in the documentary. It's all about the U documentary part 2. But he's saying, I know Tuscaloosa be good on Saturday, but this is Miami or whatnot. And Julian Sand got that look on his face like, well, I ain't coming here. I don't know what you're thinking, but I ain't coming here. And I can understand, like, bro, it's just like, come on, man. You guys are in the heart of Florida. You should be winning South Florida easily because you're Miami. But the guy I really believe that is just on the hot seat. Only reason I say it's warm right now is Billy Napier. The only reason it's not hot is because he not losing recruits. Well, he lost a couple of them. But if you start losing those top tier guys, then you got to look at it like, oh, why these guys leaving up out of here? And if he lose, DJ Ladway is not going nowhere, because you can tell he loves Florida. But at one point they was trending to flip Jeremiah Smith at one point. That is dead. That is not going to happen.
But they lost Nasir Johnson.
They lost Nasir Johnson. They lost Wardell Mack.
I forgot the guy's name. He's the number one. He's their top recruit right now.
Probably McCray.
Not Ladway.
LJ McCray.
There you go. If they lose him, then that seat is boiling. It's like, what is going on? Because
how do we know that Lagway doesn't get lost? So that's my question, is because Clemson was all over him, and right now it kind of looks like Cade may be on the hot seat as far as keeping his job around there. He was very close to going to Clemson, and it's starting to look like the people in Florida are ready to kick Billy out of there. What we just said about Miami is the same kind of stuff that you're hearing about them at Florida too. They want him gone. They want him gone. I mean, we're all fans of High Top. Watch his show. The people there are nuts. They talk about firing this cat week after week after week, even when they have a good game, which I think last week wasn't a terrible game. They lost on the road at Mizzou. I mean, they did everything but win it. Thicker kicker hits another big one, But I got to tell you, I don't know, man. I don't see, if you're DJ Lagway and you got an opportunity to go to Clemson and maybe turn it around there, or you can stay at Florida, I don't know that they don't lose him.
I think he's saying at Florida. The only reason because he just seems so in love with it. If he flipped, I ain't gonna lie, that'd be the shocker for me. I just don't see him leaving Florida at this point. Maybe early in the process, but not now.
Someone didn't like my joke. Bagman says that was the worst joke ever, Ty. It's not, because I have plenty more that are worse, but we're not going to get into that.
Tell him, Ty.
Yeah, no, I can assure you it's not the worst joke ever. I've got a book full of worst. Well, that's for a different time, though. Jason, we'll pass it to you. Hot seat. Who are you looking at?
Yeah, I did say that, and probably talking about Lagway to Clemson. You're probably right, Eric. Because I don't know that – I think that Dabo should be on the hot seat. I don't think that he is. But he should be, unless he wants to start changing things around over there. I think that the boiling seat that I see out there that's probably on fire and he's already gone, Dave Aranda. I don't see how you keep this cat around anymore. I don't see that you keep this cat around anymore. You've got new teams coming in, even more. You know, you got the four corner schools coming from the Pac-12. You cannot afford to freaking waste another year of recruiting half-ass and playing awful on both sides of the ball, even on freaking defense with Dave Aranda. Baylor has to make that move. Mac has to make that move, or else I don't understand what you're doing.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. And if he gets fired, someone's going to go after and get a hell of a defensive coordinator. That's going to be interesting to see.
Sure. I'll give you that. Yeah.
Jay?
Yeah, that was actually the team that I had was Dave Aranda out there at Baylor. I mean, look, he came into that job with Matt Rule's players. Of course, COVID hit 2-7. We give him a pass. And guess what he did the next year? 12-2, Big 12 champion. So you're like, all right, Dave Aranda's walking in here from them LSU days, baby, going to cook some. Then he goes 6-7, and now he's 3-8. Yeah, he's definitely out the door. There's no reason to keep Dave Aranda. And at this point, he's making himself look like exactly what most people thought he was, a really good defensive coordinator. And that's okay. Sometimes you need to stay in your lane and recognize that you're better at one spot than you are being the CEO and trying to run the entire program. Yeah, that looks bad for them. So to me, I think that out of all of them out there, he was number one on my list. I did think Sam Pittman should be on that list too, which I thought's why he's going to be fired, because he brought back KJ Jefferson. And so he needed an offensive coordinator, lost Kendall Browse, and the choice of offensive coordinator that he had, that he's now fired, that to me was basically an indictment on his job. That to me says, yeah, man, you're making poor choices. You couldn't keep Kendall from leaving to go to TCU. I mean, I understand, he's got Texas ties being a Browse and all, but you should have not lost him to TCU at all. They should have found a way to.
And they got cooked by TCU last weekend too. Cooked. That's your rival. You can't get beat up like that.
That's the problem. So to me, it's gonna be it's Aranda and Pittman. They're the guys right there with the hottest seats out there. I mean, some people are gonna say USC with Riley, as a lot of people are starting to make some rounds on that, because it doesn't look like, with the way they're recruiting right now, there's no bounce back for them. But yeah, I'm really, Aranda's gone. He's got to be gone. And I'm trying to figure out why Arkansas even is that they're sticking with Pittman, even though he looks like an Arkansas coach. Yeah, you're not getting the Bobby Petrino days back.
If it's not working, it's not working. Yeah.
Right.
And so I'm super interested in this. I'm surprised no one said Brian Ferentz, even though that's a foregone conclusion. That seat was boiling from the day.
Right?
Well, that's why I said it's a foregone conclusion. That was a boiling seat the day this season started, when they gave him that revised contract. That's just hilarious to me. Not that anybody got fired. The fact that they had to put in a contract that, hey, you're an offensive coordinator, we need you to score points. That's awesome. And
he's not going to lose his job, which is really weird about the way that they do things.
Oh, he's already out.
Fire him. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I was thinking about his pops. My bad.
Yeah, no. Brian Ferentz is out. He's just not out until the season's over, which is why I still qualified him for hot seat, because he's technically still there. But to get serious, guys, it's impossible to argue with Dave Aranda. The fact that so many of us had that as the name. All right. And in fact, the fact that so many of us had that as the name, that says a lot. Here's what I will say about Napier, though. They have Florida State next weekend. Jordan Travis isn't there for Florida State. If Florida loses to Florida State without Jordan Travis, those people are not going to be happy. They are going to be mighty upset. And I get it. Florida State is a good team, but Jordan Travis is a major part of that team. And then we talk about what Florida has next year. Their schedule is going to be hell next year. It's not going to get any easier. And I think ultimately one of the things that stands out to me with Billy, even though I don't think he should, he started his rebuild in year 2. Wherever you saw that exodus to the portal and then him trying to acquire talent from the portal, he did that in year 2, which we usually see in year 1. So I think there's a principled argument to be made that he's still a year away from where he wanted to be, not even including this year. And that's going to be a hard pill to swallow. If you are a Florida fan, if you are a Florida Gators decision maker, because you are seeing teams in the SEC getting better. You are seeing premier brands coming in, and you got Florida State there. So I think that Aranda's the obvious answer. I think Napier is a name to keep your eye on. Not that he will get the boot, but I think going into next season, they're going to be really antsy with that job. And if they don't produce next season, keep your eye on Napier.
I got one for you. I got a question for the panel. I'm curious to the guys' thoughts on is PJ Fleck. So Fleck comes in, he gets that 11-win season in 19. I've been thinking about him for a bit, trying to figure out what's going on. COVID year, I was everybody wash. Gives you back-to-back 9-4 seasons, and of course his name is in all these jobs, and everybody's thinking about hiring him. Blah blah blah. He drops a 5-6 season the next year after going 9-4 2 years in a row, and he's been there for what's this 7 seasons? Is it time? Have we hit the ceiling of what Fleck is, and it's maybe a time to move on?
And look, the worst loss, in my opinion, one, you lose to Northwestern. I mean, they're going through a complete rebuild. You lose to Northwestern. That's a good one. That's a really good one. What are we thinking about that?
Especially 3 straight losses.
Yeah,
you lose to Illinois, Purdue, Ohio State's expected, but Illinois and Purdue before them?
Yeah, it's like when you take it, like Minnesota for the most part were at least expected to at least be like a 7-8 win football program. Like they're like what Kirk Ferentz is doing, has always been doing in Iowa, which is for some, I don't know how he keeps doing it, but keeps producing elite defenses and terrible offenses almost every single year, but yet still win 8 to 9 games a year. It's beyond me. But PJ Fleck was at least supposed to be in that category where, again, I'm in the Big Ten. I'm in the Big Ten West. I'm literally in possibly the easiest division in all of Power 5 football. My biggest competition is Kirk Ferentz, and yet somehow in some way I'm in what is it? Let's see. I'm in 5th place. I'm behind Illinois, Wisconsin, Northwestern, and then of course Iowa in front. The only team that's behind me is Purdue. Like that's like, come on, man. Like you are expected to, to be a lot better than that. At least be in 3rd place, man. At least try to go out, get a 6 or a 7 or maybe an 8-win football team program, and you can't even do that. But like you guys just said, I mean, he peaked. Like his entire class came together. You had that destructive receiving duo. You had oh my God, he plays with the Buccaneers now. I keep forgetting. Who's the safety for the Buccaneers?
I'm not going to
talking about Antoine Winfield Jr.
Yes, yep. He had Antoine Winfield Jr. That's that team, and you won 11 games. You had Muhammad. Muhammad was there, and yet that was it. Like that was the peak year, and then all of a sudden those guys move on. I know Muhammad, he was there for like next 2 years.
And you're starting to hear a bunch of stuff about how weird he is, and like he wants everybody to like sign and applause when he comes in, and it's just weird. You know what I mean?
It's like Caligula type stuff. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
You starting to look like Caligula a little bit. I'm a little worried for those Minnesota players. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie, man. The type of stuff we hearing about what he's doing over there, man, it's.
Did you say Caligula? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that one had me laughing over here.
He look. I'm telling you, man. Look at the comparison.
Oh my
Look
God.
at the two people, man. I'm telling you, it's something weird going on here, guys. Something, I'm telling you, look up some articles, look up some research. It's weird.
Yeah, no. I saw it on a couple of different shows, some of the stuff that he's been doing. I'm like, what the hell's going on with this cat? It was
He
good with
said
the whole
Caligula.
chopping wood and row the boat and all that kind of crap, and now he really just said Caligula, man. That's awesome.
I'm telling you, man, the signs are there. Don't say I warned y'all.
Dude. Make sure to clip that.
We'll read this and then we're going to hop out of here. He says, Anthony asked panel, do you think it would make sense for Miami to move Mario to the recruiting department and hire a coach? No. And the only reason is because it's one of those things where these guys are dominant, man. Like, you're going to have a bunch of people who want to be a dominating voice in that room, and you got to have rank and file.
Absolutely.
Right? Like,
There's no way that any coach worth their salt takes that freaking job if he's not in charge of recruiting too.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Gentlemen, we've been at it for almost an hour and 30 minutes. Jance, I know here very shortly you have got a big show coming up. So we're going to go around the table, let everybody know where they can find all of your great content. Be sure to let them know where that show is going to be. And we'll start with you.
Yeah, Jant Sports YouTube, Jant716. If you want to, get me at Twitter, and then of course, Bama Insider. I'm with the coaches right after this, and then of course I'm on there for Wednesday with college football talk, and then Sunday for post game after the Auburn game. Hopefully we have a great time over there. For the most part, I know, like I said, we got to get time. We got to get you guys on. That's gonna have a good time over there. But no, I think for the most part, guys, I can't wait for the Auburn game. I cannot wait. I got a couple people over that are Auburn fans. They're about to be coming over.
Why?
They don't even want to.
Poor guys.
Oh, we made a bet. We made a bet in the start of the season. $500 on the line. Not to mention the fact that whoever's the loser has to wear a clown outfit. So
right.
I won't be wearing the clown outfit this year. So it's going to be great. It's going to be a great time.
Great content. That's great content, man.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Love it. Jason
Watkins, Hall of Fame College Football with Jason and the Coach. We're on every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern Time. Generally on Thursday nights the same. Hey, I kind of hang around here a lot as well, but you can find me on Twitter at JW_HOF or Hall of Fame. It's hofmedia.us on the internet as well. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's an open invitation. Brensky?
Well, I'm Brensky Sharp of the Sharpshooters Podcast. We drop every Wednesday. No set time. As always, we just drop the show every Wednesday. And, of course, I'm pretty much on the level of Jay in a minute with the toothbrush. I'm standing at the front door with it. Now, a few more shows. I'll be in the living room. So you guys come check us out over here at the channel.
Man, we've been enjoying it, having him on the show. He's been a part of some fiery conversations the last couple.
I ain't gonna lie, man. Y'all show you had me cracked up, man. I was just coming on there just to say hey, and then end up being on there for 2 hours.
Eric asks, when are you bringing me on? Hey, every single one of these guys can attest. It's as simple as shooting me a message on Twitter. Like, it's
That's it.
Like, to quote Coach Prime, I ain't hard to find.
Ain't hard to find.
I'm not hard to find. I got the DMs open. Shoot me a message on Twitter, and is gonna bet next year for the league. No, I had a great time. In all seriousness, that was a lot of fun. And TJ, you can't do this to me, buddy. Not as we're ending the stream. You want to come in here and drop this type of hate on me at the beginning, like build me up. But I can't end it on this, man. We have an agreement. Last 5 minutes of the show, you got to pick me up. You know what I'm saying? No kick six talk at the very end of the show. My God. I can't believe that. I can't believe that. That hurts. Anyways, no kick sixes this year. Dear goodness gracious. Guys, we will see you tomorrow for some videos. I don't know if there's going to be a Through the Haze. It's Thanksgiving week. It's all up in the air this week. But I do know Friday you can catch me on Bleacher Report as we will be once again giving our predictions. We're having a great time over there. Hopefully the games keep falling my way because We have the lead now, but I've had some very lucky picks. Until next time, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you. That's it. Spinning.